What's a concise word for difficult to explain? I'm looking for a word similar to ineffable, but without the connotation of impossible to understand, just difficult to understand. This is my sentence so far, but I'd like to make it more concise. To illustrate the difficult to explain concept of anatman, the parable of Nagasena and the king likens the mind to a chariot. A chariot is not a pole, nor a wheel, it is the sum total of its parts.
I found a perfect word after putting a mysterious into a thesaurus. Abstruse difficult to comprehend.
How about recondite? It's usually used in the context of something that is difficult for people without good knowledge in the subject to understand.
I think either recondite or abstruse are very good words for something hard to understand, or which is little known except to the very knowledgeable or learned. So I upvoted both of these. But I have the impression that Zaya really does mean hard to explain. That is why Zaya offers not a definition or explanation of anatman, which should, by the way, be placed in italic or single quotation marks, but a parable. There are some words, especially where they relate to unfamiliar languages and cultures, for which no English word or combination of words will do. So the Norwegian word huga is notoriously hard to define or explain. I take it that Buddhist anatta or anatman is the problem. From the explanation I looked up, we are into the difficult realms of the non-existence of the self. It is hard to explain because it is counterintuitive. This, in turn, is because the word existence is being used in a rather special sense, which the parable seems to explain rather well, or at least to make sense to this inexpert reader. So my suggestion, for what it is worth, is to rephrase the sentence. The concept of anatman is hard, impossible to explain, so I shall use a parable. However, I do not think you mean a parable, which is an explanatory story. I think you mean an analogy.
In the given context, I would use elusive. To illustrate the elusive concept of anatman, the parable of Nagasena and the king likens the mind to a chariot. Elusive. Tending to elude capture, perception, comprehension, or memory, an invisible cabal of conspirators, each more elusive than the arch-terrorist, himself, David Klein. Difficult to define or describe. Failures are more finely etched in our minds than triumphs, and success is an elusive, if not mythic, goal in our demanding society. Hugh Drummond. American Heritage Dictionary of the English Language. Examples of use from Google Books. It's a notoriously puzzling and elusive concept, usually leading to such questions as, if I don't have a self, who's reading this sentence? Furthermore, this work depicts not a pastoral scene, but the fierce struggle between man and the elusive concept of Buddha nature. The vast body of literature that brought the elusive concept of shunyata, emptiness, to the forefront of Buddhist practice and belief that the idea of nirvana is the most important part of the Buddhist doctrine, it is also a most elusive concept.
If you want to support the channel, please consider looking and subscribing.